The old man sat on the edge of the worn-out curb, his calloused hands trembling as he clutched a crumpled newspaper. His name was Jack Turner, a man once full of life, a biker who had ridden across the country with nothing but the wind in his hair and the roar of his Harley beneath him. Now he was just another forgotten soul, staring at a faded dream. Jack's heart ached as his eyes fixated on a motorcycle parked across the street. A rare, vintage, arch motorcycle, sleek and glistening under the city lights. It was the kind of bike that made a man feel alive, the kind Jack had spent his whole life dreaming about. But dreams weren't for men like him anymore. Not after he lost his wife, not after his business went under, and certainly not after he sold his own beloved bike just to keep the lights on. Lost in thought, he didn't notice a man standing beside him until he spoke. "Beautiful bike, huh?" Jack turned his head and blinked. The man was dressed in all black, his dark hair slightly unkempt, a pair of sunglasses resting on his nose. There was something oddly familiar about him, but Jack was too lost in his own sorrow to care. "Yeah," Jack muttered, "but it ain't for men like me anymore." The stranger crouched down, removing his sunglasses, revealing a face Jack had seen before, but only on movie screens. Keanu Reeves. Jack's breath hitched. "Wait, you're—" Keanu smiled softly and nodded. "Just a guy who loves motorcycles." Jack let out a dry chuckle. "Well, I was a guy who loved 'em too, until life kicked me in the teeth." Keanu sat down beside him, surprising Jack. "Tell me about it." At first Jack hesitated, but something about Keanu's presence was disarming. So he did. He talked about the love of his life, Mary, who used to ride with him until cancer took her away. He spoke about the auto shop they built together, the way the world turned its back on him when big corporations took over. He shared how he pawned every last bit of his past, including his motorcycle, to survive. And now all he had left was a broken heart and a dream he'd never reach. Keanu listened intently, not interrupting, not giving empty words of comfort. When Jack finally sighed and shook his head, Keanu stood up and stretched. "Come with me," Keanu said. Jack frowned. "Where?" "You'll see." Jack hesitated, but something about Keanu made it impossible to say no. So he followed. They crossed the street, stepping into the motorcycle shop where the Arch motorcycle stood in all its glory. Keanu walked straight to the counter. "Hey, is the Arch still for sale?" The cashier nodded, and before Jack could understand what was happening, Keanu pulled out his wallet and bought the bike on the spot. Jack watched, dumbfounded. Keanu turned and held out the keys. "It's yours." Jack's hand shook. No way. I can't take this." Keanu smiled. "Yes, you can." Tears welled up in Jack's eyes. He had spent years believing the world had forgotten him, that no one cared anymore. But here was a man, one of the biggest stars in the world, handing him back a piece of his soul. "Why?" Jack croaked. Keanu shrugged. "Because I can, and because I know what it's like to lose everything. But I also know that sometimes a little kindness can bring a man back to life." Jack hesitated for only a moment longer before taking the keys, gripping them like they were the last piece of his identity. When he mounted the bike, he felt something stirred deep inside him, a spark that had been long extinguished. As he revved the engine, the vibration traveled through his bones, waking up the spirit of the man he used to be. Tears streamed down his face as he looked at Keanu. "I don't know how to thank you." Keanu grinned. "Ride." And so Jack did. He rode through the city, through the night, feeling more alive than he had in years. Somewhere in the wind, he swore he could hear Mary's laughter again. That day, Jack Turner didn't just get a motorcycle. He got his life back, and all because one man, who had known pain himself, decided to remind him that dreams weren't just for the lucky. They were for the ones who refused to stop believing in them.